Hello everyone, what's going on? I'm Gav, the Master974 back again today, and welcome to another Valve source code tutorial follow-up video. And today I'm going to be looking at dynamic lights for weapons and items in Source 2013. Now I don't really have anything to follow up on, so I'm not going to waste too much of your time today. But the reason why I'm making this video is because I experimented around with dynamic lights for items in Source 2013 multiplayer mods, and let's just say the results were not very good. So as you can see from some of the gameplay here, if for example you add dynamic lights to suit batteries, then once the suit battery gets collected, while the battery gets removed, the dynamic light doesn't. And when the battery respawns, the dynamic light ends up teleporting to the battery's position. So the light doesn't get turned off is what happens. Now I've experimented around with a bunch of stuff, like trying to network over the collection status of the battery, trying to turn the dynamic light off by setting it to be null when it's collected, trying to set the radius to 0, trying to set the colour exponent or the brightness to something like -99, so basically making the light not very bright, and none of that seemed to work. So if you guys have any ideas about how this could be resolved, then please let me know in the comments. But all I can really say is kind of to proactively get the message across. Don't try to add dynamic lights to items in Source 2013 multiplayer mods because there's going to be issues. Now there is one minor follow-up to the way that this works in Source 2013 single player. So again, this is only for the dynamic lights for items, because what I determined through my experimentation with the way this works in Source 2013 multiplayer is that you don't actually need to keep track of the battery position on the server and then network it over to the client. What you can do is just, as long as the server and client classes are linked, you just, on the client code, replace the batteryPos with getAbsOrigin, and that should be the same position that is defined in the getAbsOrigin function on the server. So that way you don't even need to have the batteryPos or the think function on the server and then network that over to the client. So in that regard, that is a bit of an improvement. So yeah, I don't really have anything else to follow up on. I mean, everything else seems to work okay in Source 2013 multiplayer mods, like the Fizz Gun dynamic lights and the Stun Stick swing effects light and the muzzle flashes and stuff like that. That seems to work, although it might look a bit too bright, but at least with that stuff you can just adjust the colour exponent or the radius or the die time or whatever. But the one thing that's the outstanding issue is turning the dynamic lights off for items when they get collected. And I think the main issue that you need to look into is the item world.cpp code, specifically with the respawn and materialize functions, because the respawn function is what's responsible for making items invisible and intangible, teleporting them back to their respawn position, and then it's the materialize code that actually respawns the item. So it goes without saying, the reason why this happens in Source 2013 multiplayer mods is because items are set to be respawnable, whereas in Source 2013 single player mods, once an item's collected, it gets deleted out of the game, and because the game deletes the item, the dynamic light goes with it. Anyway, I said I wouldn't waste too much of your time, but that's all I really need to say. Let me know what you think. Have a great day. Peace out. See you later. Hopefully the next video won't take too long to get out. So hopefully you'll check that out when it happens. And sorry for screwing up with the audio, as I always do. I just want to get out of here and work on the next video. So yeah, have a great day guys.